Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, I love it. I love
What have you got in your hand? Is that a rose, Dee?
It is a heart.
A heart.
Yes.
Oh, how lovely. And I'm dressed in red.
I bought it for myself because nobody else has bought me anything.
Oh.
As usual. Yes, I know.
I'm always sent a card by the doggies. I don't know how they do it, but they manage to somehow.
They do. That my very first Valentine card, although I haven't had any for many, many years, was, I think, sent by my auntie. But it's still quite a mystery because I think it did look like sort of scrawly writing when I was 13, and I was so excited. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a boy down the road that I rather liked.
Can you remember your first Valentine's cards, girls?
No, I can't remember at all. No.
So long ago. I think, at school, I got. Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
I was always jealous of my cousin because my cousin's birthday is on Valentine's Day, so she always had tons of cards on the 14th. Yeah.
Oh, I remember my first boyfriend was when I was 3. Was called Thomas Barton. Yeah, at school. So, and he was, but he was in love with somebody called Mary as well. Oh. So never trusted men after that.
What about you? What about you, Nat? Did you have lots of Valentines at school?
I'm just remembering getting just from what you were just saying. I remember getting one and really hoping it was from somebody. I was probably about 13 at school, 12 or 13, and then discovering that it was from this person. Oh gosh, was I happy?
Young love. But anyway, we have our Valentine's Day guest. We had to get a gorgeous man, so we got Tim Bentinck, and he is our Valentine. Hello, Tim.
Hi.
Handsome.
Hey.
God.
Hey, handsome.
For vanity's sake and for Valentine's sake, I'm taking my glasses off.
Is that what? Well, that's what you'd have to do if we were in a passionate clinch, Tim. You'd have to take your glasses off. So you are our wonderful Valentine, the gorgeous Tim. Darling, as you come on to be the Valentine of the Wonderbirds, we would like to know, have you done anything very romantic? As you've been married for 5,875 years, haven't you?
76, yeah. Well, I was thinking about this because you did prime me, and I had to ring Judy and say, have I ever done anything romantic? In the 48 years we met when we were 21.
Wow.
So it's a long time ago, and I think I was quite romantic, to start off with, and did things. There are a couple of tales, but then of course you get married, and then this sort of, I don't know, we love each other quite a lot, and I think we know we love each other quite a lot, so we don't need to manifest it. That's my excuse.
You're sticking to it.
Unbelievably hopeless. When I first met her, we met in 1970, and we were both showing American tourists around London. I was at university in East Anglia, and she was at Liverpool Art College, and that's where we met. And the most romantic thing that happened then was the packed lunches. That's how we actually met, is that she'd gone down to Brighton to see off her students to France on the hovercraft. And she forgot to bring the packed lunches. And so there was this telephone call, panic, panic, panic. And I could have got them sent down because I worked in the office, but I said, no, I'll take them. I'll take them down because I quite fancied her. And so we got down there and we delivered the packed lunches. And my first memory is with her sitting on a railway station next to each other, eating the remains of the packed lunches that, there were 2 left. They were called chef in a box, I remember, because we called them shit in a box. And I can say they were appalling. But we sat there eating these sort of awful ham white sandwiches and Coca-Cola and things, and sitting on the bench next to her going, I quite fancy you. And so that's how it all started. So that's number one. Then I got a job doing the same thing, showing English tourists around New York. So I was working in New York. And before I went off to New York, I thought this is the thing, I'd better give a romantic gesture. And so I bought her a little gold locket, which she wears to this day. And I got my best friend to go and give it to her. And the best friend duly went and gave it to her. She was working on Kingsway for a television company in reception. And he came along and delivered this romantic gold locket from me, and then proceeded to have an affair with her. So
oh my God.
I know. It's what best friends are for. I was off in America. There was my mate, I won't say his name, who basically pulled. I think it was just a one-night stand. I think it was a drunken one-night stand. That's what I'm putting it down to. And it's all right, because I wasn't particularly kind of pure as a driven snow when I was in New York, because we were young, we were only 21, we'd only just met. But she still wears that locket to this day, and we've now got little photographs of me and her in the locket.
Oh, and you and Debbie had a very good beginning, rather interesting romantic start.
Well, it would. You see, now the thing about Debbie is that I have to say is that by the time I met Debbie, I was already loyal and true to Judy, because otherwise the state of progress of our working together with me and Debbie, probably, I don't know whether this is reciprocated. In these days of Me Too, I'll probably be, done for abuse. But I have a feeling there was a twinkle. I think there was a twinkle going on.
Darling, the twinkle went very soft when we were in the water.
It shriveled in the water.
It did. We had to have a love scene in a swimming pool. We had, you remember, all the crew were in the water. It was just the lighting was in the water.
I know.
Tim said to me, "I'm really sorry, but it shriveled." And I went, "No, it doesn't matter."
It wasn't supposed to be large, was it, at the time? Water. Heaven's sake, that wasn't going to be seen.
He nearly drowned me.
That was my romance for Debbie. Then there was another. I don't think we should go down this road. There's sort of a rabbit hole going down here. But anyway, no, of course we would. It was all lovely. But I was very.
I was
quite.
Us, didn't he, Tim? You had to pick me up, and he wanted us to kiss. So you picked me up, and he pulled me down, and then when we went straight down into the water, and I couldn't get up again, and we were laughing. I mean, it was hysterical. I don't know why they thought us in a swimming pool kissing and cuddling was going to be.
It was funny, because actually we were in the back of a shot of somebody else's scene, weren't we, at that point? It wasn't even like we were being featured then. It was just us canoodling in the background. And after a bit of canoodling in the water, take 23 from different angles, you do start to get shrivels, and we couldn't think of anything else to do. So I thought, I'll drown her.
Of course, as you do. Bouchenka and Nat, did you know this lovely man has a very sort of special voice that is quite an infamous and famous voice in The Archers? Did you know?
I did not know that, but how exciting. Wow.
You've been there for 1,000 years, haven't you, Tim?
Yeah, 40,
as well.
42. No,
Wow.
no, 41 now. Yeah, joined in 1982. But I'm not the famous one here, because you two, I came down to see you both in We'll Always Have Paris at the mill at Sonning.
Yes.
Night, and you were absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I have to say I didn't think I was going to. Came down out of loyalty to Debbie, really. And thought, this is probably not really my thing, and I really warmed to it, and you were brilliant. You were really, really good. I
really good fun to do. It's really good to do.
It must be really good fun to do.
And it's a lovely bunch to be working with. I mean, there's only 5 of us in the cast. Fortunately, we all get on very, very well.
Yes. I don't like her. I don't like her very much.
But yeah, what a glorious place to work, and happy
meal that you had. You were really impressed with the food, weren't you, as well?
It was great. Yeah, no, it was really nice. It was and also to meet your friend
June
Field, extraordinary woman. I looked her up on the internet after.
Yes.
She came up with some great advice about for my son about hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which I am looking into. I'm looking into.
Oh, good. Yes, she said that she'd help you with that.
I remember when he was born, Tim. I mean, it was quite terrifying, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but he's a good lad, and he's a wonderful poet. He's a great performance poet, and we've got some videos of him, which I want him to to do more of putting it up online and getting a wider audience for
Well,
it.
if we can help, we will. Now, as we're going back to Valentine's Day, I've got to tell you, I've got a fantastic, my favorite Valentine's story. I was going out with this guy who was an absolute arsehole. It was after John and I got divorced, and he was just honestly, I never knew where he was, what he was doing. And he also had a great sense of humor. He was quite a funny person. Anyway, I was sitting with Angela Douglas. Remember Angela Douglas? She was married to Kenneth Moore years ago, but then she ended up with Bill Bryden.
Married Bill Bryden after that.
Yeah. So I was sitting with Angela, and for some bizarre reason, I said, I know, I've got to send him something on Valentine's Day. She said, don't be so stupid. I said, I've got the best idea. So I went out and I bought a toilet seat, and on it, I carved something else for you to shit on. Happy Valentine's Day.
Brilliant.
And I had
so
to his
romantic.
office, and it was the best thing ever.
That is brilliant.
Do you love it?
I love it. I love it. We used to do such a thing. I did something, it wasn't romantic, but it was in the days of trying to get work. And there was, I can't remember his name anyway, it was going to be a new massive, great television series. And I wanted to get my oar in. And so I went up to, what's that, the White City, and the boating pond. And I asked them, I said, have you got any old oars? And he said, what do you want? What do you mean? I said, have you got any broken oars? He said, all right, yeah. He said, you have that one. So I took this oar, and I then went to this man's office, and I tied onto it. Just wanted to get my oar in first. Tim Bentinck, details and things like that. Never heard of
Did it
it.
work?
Didn't work?
What?
Did it work?
Did it work?
No, it didn't. No,
Work.
I used to do things like that. I used to write songs, and send people songs and things like record it, with 4-part harmony and the whole kind of production number, and send them songs to try and get work. Never worked at all. Absolutely.
Oh, but I did that. I did that with Bill Podmore when I was. I wanted to get into Coronation Street, and I used to write him poems every week. I used to write these poems. And then eventually I got the call to go in to meet them, which was about 1981. And I walked in the office, and the first thing he said, if you get this part, do you promise never to write me another poem? I said, I promise. He said, all right, you got it. I mean, that was it.
Wow. Fantastic. So it does work then sometimes.
So that's the trick, is it? Send up loads of poems, and then when it gets to a point of irritation, they'll call you and give you the job, and that's it. Done.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that, Natalie? Have you ever done a strange thing like that to get a job?
Yes, I don't think I can talk about them here, though.
Whoa.
Not even on Valentine's.
Are we talking?
No, I didn't do it. No, yeah, but I did. I was quite brazen. When I was, yes, I would just call people up and say, I think you need to cast me. But you could in those days. I remember it was 7438,000, wasn't it? The number of the BBC. I would just call up and speak to a producer or something and introduce myself and tell him that he really ought to cast me.
Wow, God.
How would you can't do that as you get older, because you come across as desperate, but when you're very young, I did all kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
Or just would meet somebody at a party, go, oh, you're doing that play that you're going to cast me in, aren't you? I would just be
very good.
Wow.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that now though.
I was terribly timorous. Luckily at the time I had a very good agent, but as we know, having a good agent makes big difference. But so I'd love him. I've got one other tale to tell you that Judy says I got to tell you about. I did very quickly. I went to Venice in the winter, and that was fantastic. That was a surprise thing. There was a thing from Ryanair that said you can fly to Trieste for a penny. It ends up you actually pay, hundreds of pounds. So that's how they get you. So we went there for the weekend, and we hired a car and then drove. And we drove through Croatia, and it was a serendipity tour. We just drove through the day, and then in the evening when it got dark, we'd look for a hotel and go to a hotel. And then we ended up in Venice, which I have to say, in the winter is the most romantic place in the world because it's freezing cold. All the women are all dressed up in furs, very, very politically incorrect, but they look fantastic. And it's the most photogenic place in the world because there's only very little amount of sunlight, but what there is, it's sort of, it's only just above the horizon. So you could literally point a camera anywhere, just go click, 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 and it would be the best photograph ever. And I remember that being a very, very romantic weekend. And the other one that I had that she reminded me about is we went to Les Mis. I thought it was Valentine's Day, and I thought we should go out to the theatre, and Les Mis was just started, and you couldn't get tickets, and I went to a tout. And paid a huge amount of money for 2 tickets from a ticket tout, and we all turned up and got the taxi and had a lovely meal, went there and sat down in front of a pillar, this massive great pillar. So we were both, trying to watch the show, me that way and her that way. So there's no cuddles involved that time. Those are, I think that's the sum. I'm very good on Valentine's Day itself. I'm always there with the roses, and I'm always there with a card and some little kind of prezi in red, and I don't forget. So that's what I do.
My husband's very good with Valentine's Day, but I'm very lucky. He buys me flowers anyway, which is, I've been with him for 36 years.
Wow.
But he buys flowers, and so there's always a little something extra on Valentine's Day.
And you're not worried when he comes up with flowers that there's some reason why he bought you flowers? Some ulterior motive going on.
No, he just always buys. I think he just loves having flowers in the house as well. But it is very nice, and cooks for me and things like. Yeah, it's nice.
Have you got a Valentine's Day story?
Not really. I mean, personally, I'm not a big one for Valentine's, because I really, cheesy as it sounds, think you should show your love every day, and I don't think you should have a special day to celebrate it. Having said that, I've been lucky enough to accept some very generous Valentine's gifts in my time, including
like what?
Return flights to Australia. That was rather
wow.
Paris, Moulin Rouge on Valentine's Day. So very nice, very nice. But I don't really sort of have any sort of amusing stories. There was one Valentine's Day, and I was on tour, and I was single at the time, and we had Valentine's night off, so let's say it was a Monday night, and myself and the female musical director, lovely Mary McAdam, we're still friends, we thought, well, it's a night off, let's go out for dinner. And we found it really hard to book a restaurant. We hadn't even computed that it was Valentine's Day. Finally found this lovely little Italian restaurant, went in, and it was all sort of, everyone was kind of coupled up. And so we sat down, we ordered our food. It was the whole thing, the roses, candles. There was a violinist playing. Everyone was looking at us, and it was like, oh, our show is coming to town. And then they realised that we were, they thought that we were a couple, but they were really cool about it. And we just decided to really kind of play up to it. So we actually ended up having a really fun evening, but definitely everyone thought we were a couple. But that was it. I mean, I haven't had any kind of stories or anything like that on Valentine's.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, before I tell you mine, which is, very funny, because Prashanka said, oh, no, I haven't got any Valentine stories, but I was flown off to Australia and the Moulin Rouge in Paris. But apart from that, no, I don't really think about it. And then I went to this, that was fantastic. Yes, well, actually, I had one, as usual, I've just staggered through the door with all of the mail, but it wasn't for me, it was for my dog, actually, Honey, because I never get Valentine's. But one day, I met a guy years and years ago who bought me, when vinyls were in, and it was a single called, and I opened it, I was so excited, beautiful Valentine card, and the title was, I'd rather leave while I'm in love. And I thought, that's not very romantic, is it?
Was that the end of the relationship?
No, I married him, actually, but I said to him, have you actually thought about this? And he went, oh my God, no. It just was just such a beautiful song. But I mean, yeah. Well, I'm no longer with him, let's put it that way.
Well,
I'm still in love.
That's right, exactly. But I love the idea of Valentine's Day. And it's so great, actually, Tim, because I've been in love with your voice and you for the last 40 years, don't you?
Oh, darling, God. And we actually got to meet last week, didn't we?
I know. And they say never meet your heroes, but
it was awful, wasn't it? No, I was such a
it was wonderful, darling. It's not true, that, because I think you're one of the nicest people
He's
that
not
I've met.
nice.
No,
In the
the
last
thing-
Definitely not nice, are you, Tim?
I just talk about disappointment. I've got to tell you very quickly. There was years and years ago in the 80s. There was a thing called the Great Event, and it was 50 years of broadcasting in front of Her Majesty. And we, the Archers, were on stage, and we all afterwards we met the Queen and Diana and Charles and everything. There's all sorts of stories about that. But one of the people who was there was the Archbishop of Canterbury and his wife, and I was introduced to the Archbishop of Canterbury's wife, and they said, "Oh, this is Tim Bentinck, who plays David Archer." And she went, "Oh, David Archer? Oh, what a disappointment!"
Whoa!
Oh,
Never
that's
forget.
No.
Yeah. And I remember to this day that I'd actually signed. She'd given me the program to sign, and I'd written on it lots of love. And after she said, "What a disappointment," I said, "Oh, can I just have that program back?" She said, "Oh, it's very kind of you, very kind of you." So I was going to write something else, and I just scrubbed out lots of love. Like, I was not having that. Scrubbed out. Yeah. Been insulted by the Archbishop of Canterbury's wife as a result of this
how
disappointment of
rude.
David
Well, it's
Archer.
because, darling, you weren't wearing a collar.
That's probably it, actually. I'm David Archer.
Yes, something as simple as that. That you
So,
could never
darling
be
Tim,
disappointed.
what are you doing now?
What am I doing actually now? I am now.
No, at this moment in time, work-wise, you feel it.
I'm doing some backroom boy work at the moment. I'm doing Archers tomorrow and the next day. And as in the case of things, all the buses come along at once. Having been in January has been very quiet, and suddenly there's a great load of work. Everybody wants you to work on the same day. And I've got a telly coming up. I just got a one-day thing, which of course nowadays I'm not allowed to tell you all these kind of non-disclosure things. They say, "Oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that," so I'm not allowed to tell you. But it's a telly. So I haven't retired yet. Put it that way.
No, well, we don't retire, do we?
No.
Any of us. No.
I can't
No,
afford to.
absolutely not.
I can't afford to. I thought about it the other
Going
day.
until we're only fit for the knackers yard.
It really are. I've got to keep going until I drop, because otherwise there's no income. I mean, the pension's pathetic. And you can't go and spend all the savings there. There's no, I just got to keep working basically until I drop. So that's all right. But because
All right. Well, darling, thank you for coming to see us. We love you. Happy Valentine's Day to you and to Judy and to all the other fans of the Archers, but as well. And Tim is going to be seen soon in the new movie, aren't you, as a strange priest?
Yes, this thing that Debbie got me into. I play Brother John. I'm a kind of a cult leader, and I'm pretty horrible, raining down punishment on y'all and all of that. You can have that to look forward to.
Oh, that should be great. Well, thank you so much, my baby boy, and thank you for being our Valentine. We love you.
We love you.
Too.
lovely to see you. And thank you for coming to see our play.
See you soon.
Yes, it was
Bye,
lovely
darling.
meeting you.
That's it.
Lovely to see you, darling. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, he is so gorgeous, isn't he?
Yeah,
How
we're
can
so
you be
lucky, so lucky. Well, girls, thank you for being in the last few shows with us. We've loved having you here, and please come back and see us soon.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Lots
We
of
love
love.
you very
Happy
much, and
Valentine.
we'll see you soon. Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.